Hey everyone, welcome to today's live stream. I'm George Despinick here, and I'll be your host for today's show. With me today, we have a panel of industry experts that are going to share their experience and advice on how to amaze your customers in both good times and in bad. So first up, we have Shep Hyken. Most of you know Shep. Wave to the camera. So if you don't know Shep, so he is a customer service and experience expert. He's also a keynote speaker and New York Times and the Wall Street Journal best-selling author of over 7 books, including one of my favorites, The Convenience Revolution. This is definitely a must-read. Thanks for joining the conversation today, Shep. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. I love that book too.
And next, we have David Shepard. So David is the Internal Communications System Manager at ATN International, with over 27 years of experience in the communications industry, focusing primarily on the customer experience. Welcome to the broadcast today, David.
Good to be here.
And then last but not least, rounding out the band of characters that we have today, we have Tim Petty, Vice President of Sales and Marketing at TCS. And Tim has been helping companies find the best solutions to effectively communicate with their customers for over 25 years. Welcome to the broadcast, Tim.
Good morning, everyone.
Now, let's just kind of frame the discussion. So many of you, I assume, have been struggling in these crazy times to manage your customer experience on the one hand, and then you're trying to keep your staff healthy and productive on the other. So these are challenging times that we're experiencing today. But hopefully, throughout today's session, you're going to gain some insights into how your industry peers are managing to deliver great customer experiences since the pandemic hit us earlier this year, and eventually turned our worlds upside down. So I'd like to also make this extremely interactive and make it as interactive as possible. So I encourage you all to contribute to the conversation by submitting your questions and thoughts in the comments box, and we'll be monitoring those throughout today's session. Hey, I see people are already commenting, so very good. I'm glad to see a lively discussion. All right, so to start the conversation, I'm going to pose this question to David at ATN. So David, can you tell us a little bit about ATN, what you guys do, and what did your customer experience look like before the pandemic hit?
Yeah, we are primarily a communications company, and we sell wireless, landline, cable TV services, operate around 13 different countries, and mostly in the Caribbean and South America, some here in the United States. In the contact center, we roughly take about 100,000 calls a month, and basically run about 400 to 500 agents deep in our call center.
And so where are you based out of, David, again?
I'm in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Oh, cool. And so Tim, tell us about TCS a little bit, and talk about some of the customers that you've been working with from a customer experience perspective, and what did that look like sort of pre-pandemic?
Yeah, so in David's case and most of our enterprise level Mitel customers' cases, they were luckily pretty well able to pack up, go home, work, take care of their database. But unfortunately, as we all know, there were the smaller mom and pop type businesses that hadn't necessarily embraced cloud technology or didn't have a disaster recovery in place. So unfortunately, those folks have been suffering and scrambling to either move to a model that can help them and their customers do what they need to do to continue to stay in business. But overall, it's been pretty positive.
Awesome. Shep, from an industry perspective, can you give us a sense of the before and after? So, what were some of the things that you were talking to your audiences about with regards to customer experience? And then since the pandemic hit, what is your message? How has it changed?
Sure. A couple of thoughts. Number one, business is normal as we all knew it. We're just going along, doing our thing. One of the hot areas that I'd been talking about and preaching to companies is based on that book, The Convenience Revolution, being more convenient to your customer. What happened after the pandemic is I believe that we were thrown with technology into the future 3 to 5 years. We didn't innovate. We actually adapted to innovation. And the whole idea of convenience has become an expectation. Actually, I think it's more of a real trend. And when we're out of this, it's going to be an expectation. I don't think we're going to go back to the way we used to be, where convenience was an option. So I see breakthrough idea with the whole idea of pushing convenience as a general process. Number two, it's a trend. It will be an expectation.
So just want to flex off of that a little bit. So David, did ATN have a sort of a crisis management policy or a solution or disaster recovery in place before the pandemic, or were you guys scrambling at the time?
No, we did. We were ready for remote workers to go home, but there was a licensing aspect to it, of course, that we did not have before. But we were able to utilize Mitel to help us get that in place. So that was our biggest challenge, was getting the licensing in and get to rolling. But we were ready for it.
So I can imagine it being quite challenging. You're saying you had 15 locations. If you have, say, in different countries and in different states, in the United States, they all have different work from home policies and, stay at home type of, public health institutions telling you that you have to work from home. You can't go into the office. How did you guys manage all that complexity?
Well, it was at first I was a bit overwhelmed by it, but thankfully we actually had 100% success rate with doing this. And one of the benefits we had was basically we're a communications company, so we were able to provide the proper bandwidth and for nearly every one of our representatives to work from home. So we basically, and we're operating in quite frankly, some third world countries. Our largest call center is in Guyana, South America. So we just kind of plugged away at it. Sometimes it was, a little bit of a challenge to get customer or our reps, but get our reps to physically plug in devices and so on and so forth like that. But I have a good team, and we were able to work them through that issue.
And Tim, with the companies that you work with, were there any that kind of stand out to you that were particularly challenging?
No, I think I agree with what David just said. Folks that either had poor bandwidth, some of our market is in somewhat of a rural market. We're a tertiary city in central Missouri. While we do have customers like David who are national and international, struggling with helping our customers get set up to work from home, dealing with the dogs and the noises that go on and the low bandwidth, and making sure that they had power supplies. That was a huge thing. Everybody scrambled to find power supplies if they wanted to take a desk phone home rather than deploy a soft phone. But overall, yeah, there were some challenges.
I can imagine. I mean, even from an HR perspective, just trying to get everyone, set up to work from home and make sure that they have good quality connections. And, one of the things that keeps on coming up is the whole concept of, or the discussion around barking dogs and crying babies, right? So I know that, when you have a formal work from home project or program in place within your contact centers, then sometimes somebody from HR might go out to the agent's house to check to make sure that they have a good environment to work in. It's quiet, it's safe, and it because it projects the company's image, right? So that's kind of an important thing. Shep, what do you think about that? Are you seeing the folks that you work with? Are you seeing them challenged in that space as well?
Right. Overall, I would call it the mobilization from a contact center to remote is really fascinating. One of the people I interviewed probably about 25 people that ran contact centers. One had 62,000 employees in 60 contact centers around the world. And one of the reasons they did that was to shift responsibility when it got crowded, or maybe they had an East Coast contact center in the US. Hurricane, let's shift everything to the West Coast. Well, that's fine until the entire world shuts down. What they found was the difficulty in mobilizing everybody wasn't too difficult. It was getting everybody to be able to work from home mentally. That was a big part of it. And I think probably later on in our discussion, we'll talk about how managers and colleagues are able to continue to communicate and work together in spite of being distanced apart because they have to work at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you think about it, if agents and managers and supervisors are going into a physical space, oftentimes when they take breaks, they like to talk about their, oh, I just had a really crappy experience, or I had a great experience with a customer. That kind of group therapy is really important for the psyche of an agent. I mean, their jobs are hard enough as it is. So when you send them home, they really don't have anyone to sort of talk to about, if they had a bad day or not, other than their partners or what have you. But it's always great to talk about war stories that you've had in the contact center in that day and just share experiences. And so one of the things that I recommend our customers do is use the video conferencing technology that you already have in your system, right? Use that to have, you can just have like an open video conference room that's, that runs all day long. And just, as an agent that goes on a break, if they feel like it, they can just, join that video conference and just have a little powwow with their colleagues. So that's one of the things that I would recommend. I don't know if you guys are you doing that at all at ATN, David?
No, but that's a good idea to pass along for sure.
Yeah, I know it's very structured in the contact center, but anyway, yeah, okay, moving on. Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, I want to give a shout out to Claire in my office, who's behind the scenes. She's like the wizard behind the curtain. She's handling a lot of what we're talking about. But one of the things, we assigned her a new responsibility when everyone in our office had to work remotely. And I must say, as much as I want to take credit for this idea, it was because a major support center did this. Aside from having specific times that groups met as teams, which is really important to either once a day, twice a day, or even 3 times a day meet as a group, Claire took on the responsibility of HR director, not human resource, but humor resource. And her job is on a daily basis to find something fun for us to laugh at. Most of it was YouTube videos that she found, but as a group, we got together, and I think the collegiality and the camaraderie that did was great. And so it was just a lot of fun. And I think part of what we have to do is keep our employees engaged, communicating with each other, and finding something to laugh about and enjoy together. It's kind of motivational.
That's a great idea. I love that. So getting up to the next question. I guess I'm going to start with David again. So, before the pandemic, you may have had a channel mix of, voice, text, web chat, what have you. Now, has that channel mix changed? Has your interaction volume with customers increased, decreased, stayed the same? Have you had to change your hours of operation or anything like that since the pandemic hit?
We have not changed our hours of operation or anything like that. Our customers pretty much expect 24 hours a day that they're able to reach an agent to discuss their issues or pay a bill or anything of that nature. So the one thing that we have had to add quite a bit of is some more self-serve to kind of fill in some of the gaps, because we have had an influx of calls. People are at home more. So they think about these things, in our business, if your cell phone is not working, you're pretty much cut off from anything, because you don't have that face-to-face interaction that we were talking about a minute ago. So it's very important that we are able to actually answer the calls.
Now, from a channel mix perspective, all of that stayed the same as far as did you start to notice potentially some more, instead of voice calls coming in or phone calls coming in, were you seeing any more like web chats or SMS texting or anything like that? Did that mix change at all?
Right. We basically have kept the same volume on everything that we do. I mean, we had a lot of web chats going on prior to this. That seems to be the way a lot of customers are moving forward, because some people just don't feel comfortable talking to somebody. So they have been utilizing the web chat quite a bit already. So I haven't seen any actual influx, but actually I might need to check those numbers a little bit more. Maybe they have. I haven't seen an influx though.
And Tim, with the companies that you're dealing with, do you see their channel mix changing, or their interaction volume, is it going up or down, or anything that you're aware of?
Not significantly. I don't think we're getting a lot more requests for the multimedia relationship, obviously. but it not been a significant increase. What we have seen are a lot of requests for customization, integrations to the CRM. We've been engaging Mitel's professional services, who does a great job over there to help our customers find solutions and develop solutions that really fit for their customers.
So yeah, I wondered, I'm not sure if this is a thing or not. Maybe Shep, you can chime in, but yeah, I would think that if, during COVID, a lot of people are spending more time at home. And when you spend more time at home, you're typically on your PC or your Mac or your laptop, compared to, say, when you're mobile and you're moving around and you're on a smartphone. So depending on, I know me personally, when I'm at home working off my laptop, I would prefer to interact with the company over web chat, as an example, because I have the big whole, I can see the whole website and so on and so forth. It's kind of hard to navigate on a mobile phone, but I wondered if that has made any difference to the way that these customer interactions are coming into these contact centers.
So you're addressing this to me, George?
Yes.
Great. So a couple of things as I was listening. If you look at what happened in March, April, May, for the most part, probably, and I'll bet Tim and David, you can confirm, your voice interactions probably increased. As a matter of fact, some great stats came out in a report that said in the UK and the US and Europe, approximately 38 to 40% increase in people wanting to go voice to voice, human to human. Now, that was for a really short term because they were looking for an outlet of just somebody to talk to because they were feeling isolated. And that word empathy started to be bounced around in a lot of reports that you'd see, a lot of articles that were coming out. I believe empathy will be the word of 2020 after COVID. But
right.
So that's the first observation. The second observation I want to make is that the whole idea, and David, you mentioned self-service. Self-service channels are powerful. They were before, they are now, and even more so because it allows customers to take control. But oftentimes we have to teach our customers to take control and how to do that. And once they learn that there's this great self-service option out there that you have for them, they may not call you as much, and that's totally fine. So I'm happy with that, but giving them the options. And a friend of mine who is with a software company says, I don't look at omni-channel or multi-channel, I look at no channel, which means however the customer wants to connect with us, we just need to be there. Whether they're close to their phone, they're on their PC, they want to chat, they want to, text, it doesn't matter. It's what they feel like in the moment, and they have the option to change the way they want to communicate at any time. The key is human fallback at all times, easy to get to that human agent when needed. And by the way, I see some wonderful friends out there. They're saying, hi, Shep, and hello, all of you. It's great to see some of the people that I interact with on a regular basis.
Yeah, and Debbie's got a great question here. This is, thinking about, thinking positively, right? Are you seeing any positive outcomes as a result of the pandemic changes? Any sort of silver linings that we can take away from?
I think this is a great opportunity. If there is ever a time to be able to talk to a client, to just build a relationship, not just to sell, but to just call and say, how you doing? What can we do? This is your opportunity to move from being a vendor to being a partner, because you're able to show, using that word empathy, you're able to show you care. And if your call is strictly sales, you're not going to get there. But if your call is out of concern for the customer that you have and helping them be more successful, I think we win. That's one of the reasons. And I don't know why I'm thinking of this. I interviewed some folks from Mitel before we been on, and this is one of the comments they had. I actually just wrote an article about it in my Forbes column, and that is, when we're more interested in making sure the customer is successful and they just happen to be able to use our product, the customer doesn't view us as a vendor, they view us as a partner. And this is our chance to create those partnerships, because people are more likely to pick up the phone and just talk to you rather than having to set up that traditional sales appointment.
Absolutely. So coming up, there's another question. So Carice is asking, what should we be doing right now to plan for a future with various crises such as pandemics and natural disaster, other things? Great question, Carice. Thanks for asking. That was kind of like going back to my earlier question about whether or not you had a crisis management plan in place before the pandemic. But I think this has really forced us, to all be ready for the next crisis.
But now we know how bad it can really be, too.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it just makes us more resilient.
Yeah. I want to say one thing, and then Tim and David can jump in. Noah built the ark before it rained. So we need to have that next crisis management plan, whatever it is. We now know what we think is the worst case scenario. We need to have that plan. What if?
Right. I think the big thing is, everything prior to COVID was a hypothetical. Are we able to do this? Now we know. I mean, we know, and we have the comfort of knowledge that we can actually do this. So, moving forward, that is a big bonus. Not a very good way of getting there, but
yeah. Tim, as a provider of communication solutions, you probably preach this a lot, right? Just, preparedness, disaster recovery, geographic redundancy, those types of things, right? To keep the network up and alive, because most businesses require that network and that communications network to be working. So is that what you're seeing as well?
Definitely. And even pre-pandemic, our area was hit by a tornado, a natural disaster, obviously. And I'd been in a longtime customer's office a week prior and was talking to them about moving to a cloud-based technology and, for cost savings, disaster recovery, features, all that goes with it. And unfortunately, they weren't ready, and it took a little bit to get them back up and going. I think long-term effect, we're going to see more and more people embracing these technologies, taking advantage of what we have out there, and using them and utilizing them for their interests.
Yeah, a lot of us have had to go to the school of hard knocks around this one for sure. But it's only going to make us better and stronger.
It's a good thing. It makes us better and stronger. I think it pushed us. People ask me during COVID-19, what are you most grateful for? Is there anything to be grateful for? And my response has been, you know what? Outside of death and destruction of people and businesses, all that aside, COVID-19, I'm thankful for the showing us what we're truly capable of. The relationships that we've been able to build, there's a lot of good that can come out of this darkness. I don't want to sound too motivational, but it has to be dark for you to see the stars.
I love that. Thank you. That's great. Let's move on and talk a little bit more about self-service. Are your customers demanding more self-service that you can, from what you can tell, if you look at, again, that channel mix, are they looking at, are they demanding more sort of self-service options like virtual agents, chatbots, and so on? Are they quite happy? Maybe they have enough time to call in. I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts about self-service, Tim?
Yeah, so we obviously have had a lot more interest in the chat and the SMS texting, the texting probably more than anything so far, but self-help with the IVR and the customization and the things that we can do even without customization have been discussed quite a bit more as of late. We kind of like to back it up with voice, like you mentioned earlier. We want to give those folks that option because not everyone is on that electronic multimedia forefront, but definitely it's been there's been a lot more requests for it. We haven't seen a lot of requests for chatbots and AI, although we do have obviously that technology available, but there's not been a huge embrace of the AI yet.
Yeah, it definitely takes time to spin up a good virtual agent chatbot that is, conversational and helpful. So I think people are just still scrambling around, and I think there's, we do see a lot of customers really interested in chatbots and AI in general. AI from a agent assistant perspective as well. So what we're seeing is that back to Shep's comment earlier about the customer relationship, people are, they have more time on their hands now if they're working from home or if they're spending more time at home. And so agents typically, they're asked to, get in and get out, like get that customer answered right away. And so that's what oftentimes a chatbot or a voice bot could be a really good tool for companies to use for those very basic questions, what are your hours of operation and things like that. But as soon as you get into a more complex type of interaction, you definitely want to spend that with an agent, a live agent. And so what I'm seeing is that, so people that have these very basic questions, they come in, they chat with the bot, and they're out of there. But for something that requires sort of that care and feeding of a human agent, by doing that, by having that chatbot take those interactions over into, out of the way out of the agent queue, the agent can actually spend more time with the customer, and that's a win-win for both the company and the customer. Shep, do you agree?
Yeah, and I'm looking at Linda Keith's question. If we can pop it up, it's a big question, and I think what she's looking for is some resources. I believe whether you're a small company that has 3 people or you're a large company that has 30,000 people or more, there's several things that you can do to make it real easy that are actually really inexpensive. First of all, chatbots have come down in price to a point that even the smallest business can afford them. I'm not so sure I like them as much because they're basically, this is a script based on a question that the customer has. However, there's no reason why you can't have a robust, frequently asked questions place on your website. And if it's done correctly, you can get customers to exactly where they want to go. And you augment that with video tutorials on step-by-step processes they need to do in order to fix whatever it is they need to be fixed or whatever the answers are. And I'll tell you how powerful this is. Some companies have used this on a more public platform, not just their website, such as you go to Google and you go, how do I do blank on whatever the software company is or whatever the company, and YouTube videos pop up. And what's really cool is if your customer base loves you, you will not only have your YouTube videos from the company up there sharing insights, but your customers will start to share videos as well on how they solve the same problems. So it's an awesome opportunity because you get not only great explanations and support, but you also get a little, I guess, social media, PR, buzz, marketing to go along with it.
Sweet. Thank you so much. So let's change the gears a little bit and let's talk about workforce optimization. So when it comes to things like workforce scheduling, forecasting, quality management, performance management, how has that changed at ATN, David?
Yeah, we have making sure that our agents are able to communicate with the customer and complete their task is a big deal for us. I mean, we utilize several different things from Mitel standpoint. My voice recording is really important for us, to be able to listen to that call and also see what the agent is doing at the same time is a huge bonus for us. We use that for quality control pretty much constantly. Is one of our best tools to use to make sure that our customers are being taken care of in the way they should be.
So when you're talking about let's say agent monitoring, right? How are your supervisors coaching them? Like, even though, since typically they'd be in the same place, right now they're in their own houses.
Right. So we actually have on staff, we have someone that is quality control, and basically all they do is listen to calls, look at the video as well, while they can look at what the agent's doing while they're talking. And then they have a coaching session that usually more so with some of the newer reps, for sure. They go and have a coaching session with them and go through the calls and basically are able to help with our quality with our customers.
And Tim, are you seeing that with your customer base as well? Are they challenged trying to keep their workforce, productive and optimized?
Yeah, I think so. And I think more and more the element that I see coming to the forefront is going to be the scheduling aspect, where you're going to have agents that are hopefully skilled and you trust them, but taking the scheduling mechanism that's in place within the workforce optimization tools so that they can, share shifts, take breaks, do the types of things that they need to do in a changing environment, where if we are going to be working more from home and potentially changing the Monday through Friday 8 to 5 type application, that we're definitely going to see a shift there for more self management.
And Shep, I was going to ask you, on the human side of it, we always have to look at that aspect of it. With some of our agents, let's say they have children at working from home. Working from home can be a challenge when you have children around the house. Like, how are you recommending anything in that respect, or sort of like flexible scheduling?
Well, flexible. So all that is very operational. The scheduling and making sure everybody's in the right place, in the right time, able to optimize their experience they're having with their customers. But I want to go a step further and say we've got to have the right people on the bus. Now, we already have a group of people. If we've had to move them and completely change the way they work, we have to really focus on training them. And training isn't just like teaching them something new. It's getting them comfortable with something they already know, just in a different environment. It's also take a look at the hiring process. We're going to hire people. We can start looking for the personalities that work best in a more remote or individualized environment. So those are really important. I know we've got some great comments. I just want to do a quick shout out if we can. Keith working with chatbots. And I know we had a question, and I love seeing that we have questions here. And I know you're managing the chat, but let's not let these go too far up, because I see there's one about measuring satisfaction. I'd love to know from our colleagues here, do they notice, are they some type of different level of customer satisfaction ratings that you're getting as a result of maybe ramping up and changing the way we do business?
Yeah, I mean, that takes us to the next question. What do you guys think?
What a segue.
Right. Yeah. So from ATN's perspective, I mean, Net Promoter Score, and also we are basically monitored by the PSC, so we have to actually answer calls in a timely manner and provide these numbers to the government, or we get fined. I mean, quite frankly, I mean, so these things are very, very important to us.
So you haven't seen any changes, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic? It's as far as your CSAT scores and things like that?
No, from the pandemic standpoint, we've been carrying on pretty well. Like I said, we were prepared for it, and we got there. Our biggest problem from a disaster recovery standpoint is, we're in the Caribbean, and that's a big chunk of our business. Our big issue is hurricanes. I mean, we go through a lot of those. So that, having, high availability and resiliency helps us with that part of it.
And Tim, are you seeing any changes from, how people are measuring customer sat and Net Promoter Scores, customer effort, that kind of thing? Is it tougher to do that?
Yeah, we've definitely seen, had a lot of requests. David and I actually were on a call earlier this morning about customizing another report within the IVR so that we could measure the port requirements within the IVR in a custom application that we had, are working on right now and finishing up that project. But we definitely see a need to understand more of what's going on within the contact center in that regard.
Okay, so let me just switch gears a little bit. We're kind of talking about productivity and agent productivity and so on. I'd be curious to know if your agents, when working from home, if they're more productive and effective, or are they less productive? I don't know. I don't have a theory on that, but I'd love to hear your thoughts.
So at the beginning, I had a conversation this morning with one of the directors in the call center today, and at the beginning of this, we were saw better productivity than we had when we were in the office. And as time's gone on, though, it's kind of gradually shifted quite a bit. So we're still kind of measuring that to see the best path to move forward.
And we actually had a customer that had 3 locations, about 500 agents, and they were consolidating and moving into a 70,000 square foot business building. So pretty big investment in a lot of ways. But just like David's group, they were able to shift and send those folks home quickly. They were already ready for it, and their project is almost complete on this big facility, and there still are no people moving over there. They're still working from home. So I think that's great, but again, getting folks back to work, I think we're going to eventually see a hybrid brick and mortar work from home environment as we move forward, and I think that's great, honestly.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Type of both of what you're saying is accurate. I think when you get into a new situation, and anybody would be this, it's natural to become hyper-focused on paying such close attention to making sure you're doing it right. And once you realize you can, you sit back and you relax, and then this becomes the norm. And the question George was asking is the baseline higher, lower than it was pre-pandemic, pre-COVID-19? What I believe is companies are starting to see the capabilities their people have in this environment. We're seeing many of the support centers that we talk to are going to stay a big portion remote eventually, hopefully bringing some people back. But like the client that I talked about earlier that has 60 support centers around the world, they're going to probably cut down to about 30. And they're going to keep all their people, but they're cutting the number of physical locations because they realize the power of being able to mobilize, work remotely, and manage crises when they come up.
Yeah, I mean, there's a great opportunity there to, from a hiring perspective. Now you have a global hiring pool, right?
Yeah.
If everyone can work remotely safely and productively, then all of a sudden the sky's the limit, right? You can hire the best agents in the world to work for you, kind of thing. So that's interesting. So Carice had a great question. She's asking, what should we be doing right now to plan for a future with various crises, pandemics, or natural disasters, or any other things? What are your thoughts? Anyone can start up.
Well, I like my comment about Noah. Get ready, plan for it. What's the worst that can happen? And by the way, it's like a fire drill. If you come to work on your first day or first week of onboarding and you say, hey, here are the emergency exits, and when there's a fire drill, you go down here, and once every 3 years, you put everybody through a fire drill. If there's a real fire about 2 years, after the drill, people don't ever remember where the exits are. So I would say, don't just put the plan in place, but practice the plan. This is what the military does. They have capability exercises where they simulate what happens if. And I think once in a while, you've got to create those simulations within your own business so you know that you're capable of something if it happens.
Yeah, Tim, do you have any added suggestions there?
I'd say just definitely talk to whoever your partner is on your communications side, whether it's Mitel or whoever. Make that plan, define the plan, and like Shep said, work it, practice it, know it, and be ready.
And David, you're that's an old hat for you because you guys have having to deal with hurricanes and everything else, right? So your advice would be to forecast and then plan accordingly.
Absolutely, it is a requirement in my line of work to be prepared.
Keith had perfect. You guys are reading my mind. It's crazy. So Keith was asking, have others started to automate quality control and assurance using artificial intelligence? Is that something you're seeing out there?
Who wants to take that one?
Well, we've definitely started to talk about this, and I see it in ATN's future. We've actually talked to TCS Tim several times about this, so it is definitely on the horizon, and something I actually look forward to. I'm kind of a little propeller head, so I enjoy to find the new technologies and implement them as we go.
All right. And anything we can do to help folks work smarter and not harder is definitely a plus. Increasing those efficiencies.
Now, there's technology out there that will actually listen in on the phone call, if you will, and they're not listening into like eavesdrop on the call. They're listening for the cadence of the customer's words, the pitch, etc., and they're able to analyze this customer is really upset, and it's able to in real time coach the agent on, hey, start giving the answer now. They want the answer, or talk slower, be more empathetic, calm the customer down. So it's able to really, with incredible accuracy, give that agent support in real time. So there's some pretty cool technologies that are out there, and they're becoming, again, I said this earlier with even chatbots, so inexpensive. Not necessarily that technology, but some of these technologies are becoming so inexpensive that even small businesses can afford to do them.
Hey, we've got a question coming in from Paul. What are the biggest technology needs with agents at home to maintain engagement with peers? Now, Paul, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but maybe, Shep, do you want to maybe talk about that a little bit, and then we'll transfer it over to David?
This is what agents are used to if they are working in a physical environment, in the office with other support. They look over at the cubicle next to them. They raise their hand, and the manager comes over. So we have to have a communication tool that's instant, that allows our people to be able to communicate with managers and ask for help quickly. And that could be a Slack type of or instant messaging type of program that is, inside the company, and it allows them to communicate almost as if they were next door. And that's what's really interesting about what happened. If all of this would have happened 10 years ago, I hate to say it, but we would have been, I won't use the word, we would have been just in a bad place. That's exactly, think about, I'm glad this didn't happen 10 years ago. I wish it would never happen at all, but it shows that the capabilities we have to communicate with each other in almost real time is absolutely uncanny compared to what it was. Again, none of these ways of communication, none of this technology was brand new. It wasn't invented after March 13th, when most of the country, if not the world, went into lockdown. It was all there before, and we're adapting and adopting and using it. I said it earlier, we're pushed into the future 3 to 5 years. Had the pandemic not happened, we would be doing exactly what we're doing right now, 3 or 4 years from now.
Awesome. And so the last question I wanted to pose to you, I guess starting with you, David, is what changes are you guys going to make permanently moving forward? Knowing that you're kind of into the pandemic scene right now, but are there any permanent changes for your business moving forward?
I kind of see, like Tim discussed earlier, I see us moving to more of a hybrid environment where we do have agents working from home and agents in the office, depending on skill level and basically how long they've been, with the company and so on and so forth. I believe there is, when you talk about that, there is a trust factor. You have to be able to know that your employee is actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. And but yeah, I definitely see we're going to go to more of a hybrid environment moving forward.
And Tim, are you seeing the same as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. And one thing comes to mind too is the aspect of security at home. We talk a lot about just what we do with the contact center, but one element that I don't think a lot of businesses think about is sending someone home to work, making sure that your data and your information is secure as well. So definitely see that as going to be as a big key element.
That's another topic for another conversation on another day, like the whole area of security and privacy and those types of things. So maybe we'll do another one of these, talking more about privacy and security, because I know a lot of people are concerned with that as well. So we're coming up to the end of we got one more question coming in. This is the last one. There's a silver lining to this pandemic. This is a comment, I guess. We have been forced to learn different ways of approaching how we work and run business. Hallelujah to that. I totally agree with that sentiment. We're doing the best we can with what we got, and I think we're learning to become stronger, more resilient, both as human beings and as well as our companies as well. So with that, I just wanted to really, really thank Shep and David and Tim for your fantastic insights. This has been a lot of fun. Let's do this again real soon. And thank you all for joining and for all your wonderful comments and questions. Just wanted to make sure that we tried to get as many in as we could. This has been recorded as well. So, once it's the replay is available. Share it with your friends and colleagues. With that, I want to wish you all stay safe and be good and healthy, and we'll catch you next time.
Right.
Hey,
Take care.
George, appreciate your, it's like the hostess with the most, but it's the host with the most. Thanks. Appreciate you, Tim, David. Great to work with you.